personal interest in the quest for a national coalition to put Nigeria on the proper pedestal. In this regard, the starting point is Southern solidarity, for which we first enacted the handshake across the Niger, which had been obtained to the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum. To enjoy the labor movement, students, youth organizations, women associations, and every institution whose foundation is built on fairness and justice to join hands in this task of exploding a democratic government by supporting Peter Obi. If we are sincere and honest about keeping Nigeria together in peace, the slogan henceforth should be to keep Nigeria one, everybody should be obediently compliant. Until this government is changed, until you put obedient in power, you have no government at all. Is it ABC that will do it for you? Or is it Atiku? They are all space force. And they all rely on the fact that they know how to read the election. But we are waiting for them. This government must be changed to have peace, to have progress.
And that there is Padimanjo speaking on how well the Southwest and his group, the Ohanifere, the Southwest Social Cultural Organization, would be backing the presidential candidates of the Labour Party, and they feel like, well, it's their thing, it's their turn. It says, let's give it to the Southeast. It's time for the Southeast to, produce the next president of Nigeria. According to him, if other regions in the country have tasted power and have been, at the helm of affairs, then maybe it's time, if we want the Igbos to continue to be a part of Nigeria, maybe it's time for us to, give them a chance. And that's, well, several people have, come against that submission. Some people are saying, no, that's not the way to go. That's not, Padimanjo is not speaking for the entire Southwest. He's not even speaking for the Ohanifere. That's his personal opinion. He's reaffirmed that just a few days ago, we saw a situation where he had mentioned it, he came out in public. He also had to do another press briefing yesterday to reaffirm his support for the candidates of the Labour Party, because that's who he believes would change the course of things. Joining us this morning to discuss the situation is Professor Femi Otubanjo, professor of political science, who has done it all, seen it all. He's one of those who was in the helm of affairs, also helping move this country forward. He was an advisor, special advisor to two. Two special advisor and chief of general staff. Yes, that's what they call it in the military regime. To General Oladipo Dia, as well as late Vice Admiral Mike Akibe. Joining us this morning is Professor Otubanjo. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us.
Thank you very much for asking me.
All right, let's get to this conversation about Ohanifere, what people have referred to as Ohanifere. The coming together of Ohanifere and Ohanes Ndibo to support one candidate, the presidency of Peter Obi, that what they call the presidency of Southeast Extraction. What do you make of this? Do you think it's possible? Is this something that should be that's commendable?
Yes, I'm not sure that there's anything commended or condemned. It is a choice. You have in a political party, in a democratic setting, you have all kinds of actors, multiple multilateral actors. You have political parties that are the primary competitors for power. Then you have all kinds of influence groups that attempt to influence the system. That they are, sometimes national, sometimes regional, sometimes even community, music groups
that want to choose, want to have a say in who becomes their representative. That Ohanifere or Ohanifere to have their own preference. That is their preference, unfortunately, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. I think that there is there's always a problem in Nigeria about what I call paradigms. Paradigms that is, you have about systems, different systems being jumbled together. You have what we have today is a democracy. What we had before was military rule, which we had for almost 25 to 30 years. People still think in military terms of imposing choices. It's not about, you cannot impose. When people talk about the Southeast as being the next region to become president, to really provide the president, they are talking in terms of military choice, of dictatorship. They're not talking in terms of democracy. Democracy is about free choice.
How's that so, Professor? When most of them make these arguments, it says from 1999, since the return to democracy of the Fourth Republic in 1999, that the Southeast hasn't produced a precedent in the country. Looking at the fact that we have the federal character principle that seeks to bring everybody on board and carry everyone along.
Let's just be clear in our minds about confusion that we made. The federal character principle is not about power sharing. It's about representation, equal representation. Now, if you are talking, and it's not in the fact that the region should have the presidency is not in our constitution. That's rotation. That's a political party matter. There are two regions that have not produced presidents. But we don't talk. So when zoning, particularly at the PDP level, I don't know about APC. I don't think they have zoning in their constitution. We talk in terms of north and south. So we must take it for granted that the north are well represented in Wari and that it's in front of the south. Now, how do you get the south to produce? Who do you produce in the south? Then you go to political parties. It is the political parties that should decide in the democracy who their representative is. Now, you have in the PDP a situation in which the previous president was from the south. That is the argument. But the previous presidential candidate was from the north. So you have a confusion between what are you to decide? Is it on the basis of the previous president or the basis of the previous presidential candidate? So that is the fight that is still going on. The south believes that the presidential candidacy of the PDP should come to the south because the previous contestant was from the north. But not to say the previous president was from the south. So, but even then, within the PDP, where the Southeast has been a very strong supporter, the expectation is that people, when it comes to the south, it will go to the Southeast. But you can see the person who is champion of the south is Wike, who also put himself forward, in spite of the fact that the very previous president of the PDP was from the south. That is the nature of the you go for the majority to decide for you, not to choice, is to impose. If you want people to support you, you have to lobby them, you have to convince them, you have to do everything to persuade them to give it to your region. It is not given in a political setting. It is voted. That's why we are not appointing people to be president. We are not appointing people to be senators. We are electing them. We are allowing the majority, not a few, a caucus, or a powerful set to decide. So the problem we have is that we're in a democratic setting. What the people of Anis and the rest of them are talking about was what was done during the military. That is, during transition, in a transitional situation in which you now have to decide where should things go. Now, you don't have the tradition, please. You have a democracy. So democracy should decide it. Ordinarily, we think that we should rotate the presidency around Nigeria for inclusion, so that people will be included. We will feel a sense of inclusiveness. But you have to do it through the democratic system. And what we have now is that, unfortunately, in the PDP, where the Southeast is That is the nature of democracy.
Now
So
speaking of,
after,
go ahead, sir.
yeah, but again, after that, you will now have the popular vote. And what an Ohanifere and Abuja are doing is to mobilize popular vote for Peter Obi, so that you will still achieve the purpose of giving it to the southeast. That is the only thing left. Mobilize support for Peter Obi. And I think what they are doing is correct. But of course, in the southwest there, people believe that Abuja should be supporting a southwestern candidate, not a southeastern candidate. And that is where the anger is.
Now, for a sort of cultural group like Ohanifere to decide to support the presidential candidates of the Labour Party from the Southeast, as against what you just mentioned, where the people are hoping that Ohanifere should support, an Omoluabi, son of the soil, and that kind of thing. What do you make of Nigeria's diversity and the unity that we're looking for, hoping that all Nigerians are able to, come together to, what do you call it, for justice and fairness to exist within the country. Do you think that this is a move in the right direction? This is going to set a precedence for other, social cultural groups and other regions to also begin to unite, to come together because we saw a similar situation in 2015. The Southwest rather, and the North kind of had a merger, and they shook hands and produced the current president. Now, looking at it the way that it is, where Ohanifere seems to be supporting the Southeast candidates, do you think it's going to bring a division amongst the Southwest people?
Well, I don't think so. Let's get it straight. You are being as you use the example of the APC, the North and Southwest. That it was done as a result of political engineering. A new political party was formed, and the dominant elements in it were from the North and Southwest, such that they were able to produce a president from the North and the province of rotating it down to the Southwest, which Tinubu is benefiting from. Now, that is the way to go in a political setting, in a democratic setting. You have to work, you have to engineer support for yourself. It is not given. It was not given to Buhari. Buhari lost 3 or 4 elections before it was the 4th election that he won. As a result of constantly trying, constantly working in alliance or alone with people he was in APP, or he went to form CPC, and so it was given to you. He worked for it. Nobody gives you anything in the democracy. You work for it. You work to get the majority. And that is what has happened. Tinubu worked to get the majority of people to support him because he had worked for Buhari's ascendancy. So what we are trying to do is you have to go and try to begin to build up your support base. You have to win other regions to your side. And it is a process of winning other regions, of persuading them, of working hard to get their support. It is not going to be given to you. Ohanifere has shown his preference for Obi. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a preference. There are other groups everywhere that show preference for one candidate or the other. And at the end of the day, it is during the elections when people as a people decide who they want to vote for. That determine who our leader is. It's not the view of 1 or 2 people or 1 or 2 groups. It is the view of everybody. But of course, those groups that were NSA can influence the way people think if they have sufficient influence. Unfortunately, we are not in a military setting where those 2 groups were seen as democratic forces fighting for democracy against the dictatorship. We have gone beyond that. They have lost a lot of influence because the setting is different. They are no longer fighting against dictatorship. They are just another group, prominent, influential, but just another group that nobody is looking for. People do not aggregate around them. They are aggregating around political parties. average Yoruba man does not know Ohanifere anymore. Ohanifere has become a newspaper issue, a social media issue that people are arguing. When it comes to who decides who to vote, people are going to congregate around APC and PDP and Labour Party. They are more influential in a democracy than Ohanifere. So if Ohanifere makes a statement, we should not attach too much importance to it. It's a preference, and people should not get agitated.
Very well said. Looking at the situation, campaigns officially kick off today, and the Atiku campaign opens with a strong statement to say Atiku yesterday made mention of the fact that his presidency would be a springboard or a stepping stone towards producing a president of the Southeast extraction. Looking at what happened at the PDP convention, where it was finally thrown open, even though they had a constitution that said there was going to be zoning and all. People have said that's a political statement that no one should attach any relevance to. What do you make of such a statement?
Well, don't forget that this is the season of promises. Politicians make promises. Sometimes circumstances will change their attitude, and either they will keep quiet or they will reverse themselves. I think we need the support of the Southeast. Southeast is a very strong PPP area. And then we have Peter Obi from the Southeast, who seems to be gathering support from that same zone. And so, what that zone wants most by supporting Peter Obi is to produce the presidency. And so, Atiku has already claimed the PPP presidency. The first thing he wants to do is to say, look, our people who are in the same party, we have always worked together. The best way for you to get the presidency is to let me do it now, and I will work for you to get it. It's just a campaign promise. I don't know how far he's going to be able to do it. It is not for him, as I was saying. It's not for Atiku. It's not the era of dictatorship. It's not for Atiku to offer presidency to the Southeast. It's for the political party to work it out. Although, if he becomes president, he will have a great deal of say in that. And I think that it's something that should be taken seriously, because that's the best pathway to the presidency. Apart from Obi winning the election, the next pathway to the presidency is through the PDP and Atiku. Because I'm not sure of the strength of the Southeast in the APC. The Southeast is very weak in the APC, So, and that will affect his ability to get the position of president at any point in the near future. So, but already you have somebody who is of Igbo origin as vice president in Atiku's government, and it's quite doable that the Southeast can step into Atiku's position. It would have been easier if Peter Obi had not left the PDP. If he had stepped with Atiku as vice presidential candidate, and then we'll be talking in terms of transition of power. But it's a promise, and I hope that it's a promise that will be kept.
All right, the conversation continues. We'll be talking more. My guest this morning is Professor Olufemi Otubanjo, who is a professor of political science, who's talking to us and making very important contributions to the national conversation around, the next president's campaigns officially kick off this today. And we're beginning to see promises or hear promises from those who want to clinch power in 2023. I'll bring in a caller now and get their thoughts in before we take this quick pause. Hello, good morning.
My friend, good morning.
Good morning, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. Quickly, go ahead. Let's hear you.
Yeah, from good morning, sir. My friend, you see, when police, anyway, you know that the thing has officially started, the campaign has officially started today. So when we come to your station with politics, don't shut our mouth off again,
We're not going to shut you up, but if you bring money, let's bring money and let's talk politics.
We'll start pushing them to you now.
That's the way.
You see, what I'm trying to say here is this: we need to look at the antecedents of statements from politicians. We look at the authenticity of what they say,
look at the credibility of this candidate. This same Southeast. How many presidential candidates have made promise to them that they will hand over power to Southeast? We need to start thinking of that. How many have made those statements? Has all those things been realized? If the PDP is coming out and an article is starting with that statement that you give it to the Southeast, how sure is the Southeast that's going to give it to them? Now, the situation that we really have problem with the Southeast is that the whole region, the Southwest and the North, was able to have a handshake by forming the alliances within the political parties that they form within the whole regions. But I look at PDP was just like a national party in which the Southeast pitched their tent on it and forgot their own baby, which is the Afghan. And which they made the Afghan stronger and established friendship among the other regions so that they will have it as a collateral in bargaining for their own region, just like other regions. And then right now, we're talking of this rotational president. I wish the National Assembly will swallow their pride and allow that bill to go around so that people will feel sense of belonging.
All right, Paul.
Because if you look at it, some regions have numbers, and other people don't have the numbers. We always suffer. Then the last thing I want to ask for, please can explain to us what is democracy in isolation without equity, justice, and balance of government.
Okay, Paul. Thank you so much for asking. And that question, Professor would respond to that question shortly. Just stay with us. The conversation continues here on your radio experience. You can count on. All right, bro.
Your number one radio experience. You can count on. Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Ministry of Water Resources, in collaboration with the World Toilet Organization and the organized private sector in water, sanitation and hygiene, Upswash 5. Date 18th and 19th of November 2022. Theme: Sanitation Innovations for Economic Development. Venue: Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. Join the global conversation around sanitation with high-level panelists from the World Bank, SHF Geneva, USAID and others, as well as renowned leaders including the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Honorable Minister of Environment and other state governors. Chief host is His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. To join as an exhibitor showcasing technologies that can boost the sanitation economy, or as an attendee, register now at www.wtsnigeria2022.com.
Are you a real estate developer? Do you own an estate? We understand that getting a full force clientele can be challenging. Let's make our audience listen to you sell your property on radio. Take advantage of our 25 minutes promo slots. You have 25 minutes to sell your real estate property on radio, weekdays 3:30 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. For more details, call 090-9984-4433. 090-9984-4433.
Your number one radio experience. You can count on. Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
We're going back now, sir. Thank you again for staying with us on your radio experience. You can count on. You're on to Eagles Outlook. And this morning we're asking, is Ohanifere possible? Is it going to, produce the kind of results that the alliance between the Southwest and the South and the North, in 2015 produced? Looking at how the Ohanifere is supporting the candidacy of Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. We're looking at other issues around the polity as campaigns begin this morning. My guest is Professor Femi Otubajo, who is a professor of political science, joining us. Before we took that pause, Paul asked a question and he said, is it possible for democracy to stand isolated without justice, fairness, and equity? And Professor, you're going to respond to that question shortly. But before then, let's bring in another caller. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, I agree to you, Prince.
I greet you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Sunday,
I agree. Yeah, Prince.
Sunday the Prince. Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, I agree to this. I have spoken well. If we look at the realistic here, we're all Nigerians. We all link up this country, and everybody need each other. Without Igbos, there will not be Yoruba. Without Yoruba, there will not be Igbo. Without Igbo, there will not be Hausa. So, as long as Nigeria is a component, we need each other. And we need to carry everybody along to balance the equation in the country. While Igbos have contributed immensely in the growth of this country, everywhere we find ourselves, we contribute our water. We are not the type that occupy a place without establishing that place. You can attest to it. Why in the government we always being marginalized? What did we do wrong? Igbos have been supportive to all the presidential candidates right from 1999. In person of Alex Okweme, for fit political presidential ambition for Obasanjo, for the presidential candidate of PDP, eventually he won. In 2003, the same thing plays out. Igbo let go. In 2019, Igbo give everything they have to Atiku, believing he's going to win. Eventually, he don't win. And as it stands now, this is our time. Because the Southwest are taking a slot of 8 years. The good luck has represented the minority for 5 years. And Buhari has taken the slot of the law for 8 years. So now that is the turn of the Igbos, I was expecting that all the regions will give Igbo 100% support, just as Igbo has been giving to them. In 2015, the North make it openly, those in PDP, those in other political parties, give everything they have to Buhari to make sure that the power returns back to the North.
Okay.
So now that is the turn of the Igbos, I expect all the regions, irrespective of political affiliation, to give us that maximum support that we need. Because they said power is not given, power is taken. And the people has come out now with full support to take the power. So I don't expect rancor within the South region. The South region should form a block and form alliance with the North, so that the power will come back to the South. And not just only to the South, down to the Southeast, so that the fairness, equity, and just will balance. And everybody have sense of belonging. This is my angle this morning.
All right, Sunday the Prince. Thank you very much for that submission. Prof, what do you make of pause the question before before you respond to Sunday the Prince and his submission? Go ahead, please.
Well, I don't know what she means by without democracy, without justice and fairness, there will be no democracy. Democracy is about free choice. That's the first element of justice and fairness, the right of people to choose their leaders. Once that is not taken away, it's not manipulated. That's the first, that is the foundation of justice and fairness in any election. The majority in a democracy will have their way. The minority will have their say. You know, you can say whatever you like. At the end of the day, it's the majority that will prevail. Whether that majority is right or wrong is a different matter. But the democratic definition of justice would have been satisfied. Let me talk about this. It's my turn, it's not our turn. It's a matter of your political party. Strictly speaking, it is not the turn of the Southeast in APC because they have no major investment in the APC. That's unfortunate. That's the reality in a democratic environment. Why they ought to get this presidential candidacy is the PDP. And the tragedy is that they were not in line to get it. The three people that were judging for the position that were the front runners were Atiku, Tambua, and Nike. Nike is not from the Southeast, although, you know, and he has denied that he's not an Igbo man, and then people say it's Igbo. So it is not a national issue. It is a political party issue. It is not, there's nobody in Nigeria who can give you the presidency, so you turn up. Buhari did not get it from like that. Buhari went through 3 failed elections and struggled to form an alliance with other political parties, primarily with Tinubu, and through that process was able to win the election. It is a democratic struggle. It is not a gift. Unfortunately, Obi, who's who's a very influential candidate now, quite honestly, from a strategic point of view, you have to have stayed in the PDP. Instead of going to choose a very weak vehicle for actualizing his ambition. That would have been the best choice for the Igbos at that time. Then an argument could be made because the Igbos have invested a lot in the PDP and ought to benefit from it, but they have not invested that much in the APC. I know, in fact, Buhari said, we talked about 5% that they're not supporting, that they're supported him from that region. So we must not be sentimental about that. It's my turn. It is within the political party environment that it becomes your turn. You struggle for it. You have invested in the PDP, and it is the PDP that has refused to give you that opportunity. No Igbo man was even in the first three candidates that came out of that their convention. And the wicked that is fighting for the South don't have the sense of justice to fight for the Southeast. He was fighting for himself. And so we must know that it's about your fight, struggle, building bridges, handshakes, creating structures. It is not about the gift. That was military. That was dictatorship. That was transitional arrangement. If we had a military rule, the military can decide we'll give it to the Southwest, can decide we'll give it to the Northeast, and begin to work towards it. But we are no longer in that kind of situation. We have to work for it. Worry that is the president could not even make his own presidential candidate, because at the end of the day, the question we got was that he would have preferred somebody else. But he did not succeed in getting his own preference to become the presidential candidate of the APC. So what are we talking about? Not talk of giving it to another region. So it is within the PDP that some arrangement should have been made to favor the Southeast. But instead, those who are fighting for the positions were not thinking of the Southeast, they were thinking of themselves. Particularly those who are fighting for the South to have the presidency. The leader of them, UK, was fighting for himself and is still fighting for himself. So let us not talk about it is our turn, it's not our turn. It is your turn within the political system, within the democratic system. We work for it and get it. That's the way it works.
Well said. Let's look at the National Assembly and the bill to that seeks to create or include rotational presidency in the Constitution and make it constitutional for presidency to rotate amongst the 6 geopolitical zones. The National Assembly rejected that bill yesterday. What do you make of that? Before you respond, I'll bring in this caller, sir. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we can hardly hear you. You want to call us back? Prof, how do you respond to that question on the National Assembly rejecting the bill to make presidency rotational in the country?
Well, I'm not sure that that will not clash with the constitutional provision for freedom of association, freedom of speech, and all those freedoms, because you will be getting into the area of affirmative action. You have to decide whether you want things to work freely, or you want to have affirmative action which will favor zones. But quite honestly, from given our political history, that's what we need. We need that kind of arrangement in our constitution that zones the presidency will continue every 4 years to get into this controversy, this instability, this struggle for which zone should get it or not. I do not see why we cannot amend our constitution to accommodate zoning. Quite honestly, I think that the National Assembly has rejected it. Well, it's unfortunate. It's something that we should continue to look at and to need to put pressure. Again, things are a product of pressure. This zoning provision, which was, I think, submitted by one Abamoro, it's just off the cuff. You do it after candidates are demarched. It's like a joke. It's something that should be a long drawn-out process of persuasion, of mobilization, of committee work to allow people to express themselves on what should be done. It's not for the National Assembly. The National Assembly just went through a process of constitutional reforms, and this was not raised. So you now raise it. almost as an ad hoc thing. It makes no sense.
Okay.
I think it's something that we should consider. I think we should to save ourselves from these periodic upheavals about whose zone should have the presidency.
All right, sir. Let's bring in a caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Prince.
Good morning to you. What's your name, sir?
My name is Dominion.
Dominion, good to have you. You're a first-time caller.
Thank you. I've been calling. No, this is not my first, but I've not been around.
Okay, welcome back. Go ahead, let's hear you, please.
Now, please ask your guest. Ask him. I hope he's old enough to be around in 1999.
He's been there the longest.
1999, yes. When the power was shifted to the southwest. Ask him, was it not? Is it not that power was given to southwest that time? Because he said power is not given, it's taken. Why should now again for just equity's sake? Southwest has ruled. Obasanjo has ruled for 80 years. Now the North has ruled for 80 years. South for 6 years. Is it proper for somebody from Southwest to come out now? Because the man who you are is a Yoruba man. I know by his name. What is equity? And he's well read the way he spoke. He's a knowledgeable human being. What we are talking here is equity, not giving or taking. Yes,
okay.
So we have to balance because of the situation of Nigeria, because of the geographical where Nigeria is coming from. Why can't we speak the truth rather than talking? I can't understand.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dominion, would have to speak your own truth and have other people speak their truth as well. We'll bring in another caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Prince.
Good morning. Is this Elder Noja?
How are you today?
I'm very well. What's your name, sir?
Bushman.
Bushman, good to have you. Let's hear you quickly, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. The other time I won that to be, as far as I know, does not come up for presidential candidate because of Igbo. Everybody know how he started his own. He just came out as a true Nigerian. And that is why most of us, mostly from the mid-belt, South, and other regions support him. But at least some people, his own people, are trying to pull him down by dragging him that Obi is representing them. It is their turn. Like your guests have rightly said, equal turn is for PDP's arrangement, not Nigeria's arrangement. Because if we want to follow turn, where will it become mid-belt turn? Are we not among Nigerians? If mid-belt pull out of the northern region, they're no longer 90 states. So we have power. So let us, if we are talking equity, it must not be that until it comes to me before it becomes justice.
Okay.
So let them leave Obi alone.
All right.
And Obi is for Nigeria. It's not for East.
Thank you very much, Bushman.
People will change their mind.
Thank you, Bushman. Professor Tubajo, you heard the callers. How do you respond to their comments?
Well, I'm not sure I got the message from the second one. The first one is about, I got about the first one talking about ought to. You see, the elementary philosophy, you have the word called is and ought. When you ought to be is the level of morality. What is the level of politics? You have to work in a democracy to get what you want. It is not given. There's nobody to give it. There's nobody to give it. You have to persuade, even within the limit of political party, you have to work among the influential people in the party to get to your side. And you have to have a presence in that party, an appreciable presence. Unfortunately, in the Southeast does not have that appreciable presence in the APC. So they were not even there was no idea that at the Southeastern would have emerged from the APC. It was not there. Any credible analysis of the APC politics would not have given it by long shot to somebody from the southeast. In the south, in the PDP, they had a very good chance because the PDP, at least 3 of the states now, before Ebonyi went away, mostly PDP states. PDP has always done very well in the southeast, and so one would have expected that they would mobilize themselves to get support of the prominent people in the party to get to their side. We must not go on with this. It ought to. It's our turn. It is your turn if you can make it your turn. That's the way it works in democracies. If you are in a military arrangement where somebody who is Supreme Military Council or Commander-in-Chief will decide, like they decided for Obasanjo, for example, and created a north-south situation within the PDP, when the PDP has a zoning arrangement, which is very solid in terms of north and south, but it does not decide which zone will get it when it gets to each region. Now, the reality is that the people who want it must work for it. And I keep saying that this best chance would have been to work for it within the PDP. And the chance would have been strengthened to the point that it will have a say. All this morality will now become stronger. This is a Southeasterner who has been with the party that has supported the people, and so we ought to give it to him. But unfortunately, politically, Atiku was stronger. He was able to manipulate himself into that position, or give left the place, and did not leave any credible Southeasterner behind who could fight for the position. What instead of grumbling now, what people should do is to mobilize to win the election. That's the next level. And Ohanifere and the others are also assisting him to try to win. So I don't see why people are complaining that in the turn of the Southeast, when you have a Southeasterner as a credible presidential candidate, he's there. What you want to do is to work for him unless you are already accepting defeat that he will not win. So you have a Southeasterner, there are 3 major candidates in the field. You cannot expect a Southeasterner to have emerged from the APC, but there was a narrow possibility that they could have emerged from the PDP if they could muster the support, but they did not. And now you have somebody who is a credible candidate in the Labour Party from the Southeast. So what is the grumbling about? Let people work for him. And I'm not asking that people should step down for him so that it will be the turn of the Southeast. No, it doesn't work like that. In as much as our sentiments are going in that direction, but that's not the way. It doesn't make sense.
All right, Prof. Let's quickly close it. So close with these messages from Imam Future President. You say the fact remains that Nigerians, most especially the youth, are ready to take back our country from these old men who have nothing to offer us but to bring hunger and strike on us. We have made up our minds to vote Peter Obi. He is the only man to help us out of these pains. If truly we are one Igbo rule, if truly we are one, Igbo will rule us this time around. Nothing can stop this movement. Many thanks to Ohanifere for standing with truth. That's your message, your thoughts there. Henry from Mustafa says, good morning, Ihanacho. I want to ask, is your guest a politician? He sounds so biased in his responses to these questions, or to your questions. Why is he so sure that LP is a weak beat? He should leave His Excellency Peter Obi alone and tell us his preferred candidate. That's your submission, Henry. Professor, how do you respond to these submissions in less than 1 minute?
When you are not saying what people want to wear, they think you are biased.
That's very
They want me to tell what me to say is that it should be from the east. It should be Peter Obi. No, Peter Obi is already from the east. He's there in the field. And I'm happy that one of them says they want to take our country back. They should work for that. You are talking about the Southeast. 3 major presidential candidates, credible one of them is from the Southeast. So where is the problem? Unless you are insisting that Peter Obi should come from the PDP or before the APC before you can vote for him. Vote for Peter Obi. I agree entirely that our politics, our old politicians should not be in the field. I'm not excited about two leading candidates. I'm not excited about them at all because we are going back to the same promise. That's what we are beginning to see. When I become president, I will give the position to the South. That's what we get. Promises and promises. It's all about politics, not about the people.
Very well, Professor
So
Otubanjo.
I'm not excited about any of the candidates. I am also not so sure that Peter Obi has done enough or had enough structural preparation for presidency. But you people can mobilize the young people want to take their country back. They must get themselves out on the election day and vote. It's not about social media, about talking, about rallies. It's about on that day. Vote massively across the country. Get your counterpart in the north and the south and the north is the northwest. It's not. It must not be a Southeast and Lagos affair alone. Let's get our country back. If you get your country back, you will not lose if I have good
Professor
governance.
Otubanjo would have to go now.
Yes.
Professor Femi Otubanjo, Professor of
Yes.
Political Science, thank you so much for talking with us this morning. Really, really appreciate your thoughts on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Have a good day.
Thank you too. Have an amazing day. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of it. We appreciate you for being with us. Pauline David has you on business news shortly. Keep it with us on the side. My name is Iheanacho Prince. Right after the business news is 1023 Extra. Keep it locked.